Hello and welcome to our second meeting in Introduction to Information Technology 2. I'm Riovan Stick Storing, and yesterday we have learned about our basic knowledge in information technology uses for creative and innovative practice. And today we are going to focus on one of the simplest use of the IT in cloud application, and also we can say that the origin, which is the content management system, or what we call CMS. And we are going to learn about the fundamentals first, and hopefully by getting the knowledge of cloud application, we can try to uh, get an interesting idea use in the use of the information technology. Okay, first thing first, there might be a question: what is a cloud technology? Especially for all of you that is not in the IT or computer science field of study, you may seems doesn't know, even though that some of you may have heard about the cloud technology. So let's make it simple. A cloud technology is a kind of a program or application that we can use seamlessly or on the go, if we call it OTG, using the internet. So some of you probably have used it before realize that this is a cloud technology. So in the definition, cloud technology is a combined service, technology and activity that use in the internet. So there will be user that access the internet usually from the browser, and uh, it becomes something that they could use, whether that's for personal gain or maybe for business gain. So that's all about the cloud technology. I will give you some example later about the cloud technology, and I think some of you may have used it in your daily life. Okay, so about the cloud technology, why this become a huge technology that used today? Because the cloud technology is something that keep changing. Services that not only free or maybe premium application that can be used to improve the uses for the user itself. That's why uh, by the development of the cloud technology, we have what we call a standard, because this kind of standard is able to be used as a measurement and also to define about the cloud technology. That's why in this meeting we are going to talk about a sample of a cloud technology standard. We are going to use the NIST, which is the National Institute of Standard and Technology. This is from US, and it has 5 key of characteristic that define cloud technology, and what make it different from what we use, such as the program that we use in our PC, in our smartphone, or in other information technology. And this could also be defined as the use of the cloud technology itself when you're going with our previous topics, which is the creative and innovative use in IT. So this is the 5 key characteristic for the cloud technology according to the standard of NIST, which should be known by us if we are going to utilize this cloud technology. The first one is on-demand self-service. This should be a key component of the cloud technology. Second one is ubiquitous network access. We are also need to know that it also need to have a location transfer and resource pooling. We will learn about it more later, but for this time we are going to also focus on the 5 key cloud characteristics too, which is also the fourth one is the rapid elasticity, and the last one is measured service with pay per use. So we are going with the on-demand self-service first. What is on-demand self-service? You may have known that some of the word on-demand itself is a technology that we usually use for, especially for entertainment. Maybe some of you have Netflix, or maybe Disney Plus, or any other what we can call on-demand service. So on-demand service is uh, something that can be requested by the user or the consumer itself to receive access of the technology or the service that uh, currently offered by the service provider, whether this can be accessed by administrator or without administrator or login credential. We can also say that the admin is something like a supporting staff that we can access remotely. This on-demand self-service also service that implement what we call user self-service, which allow the customer to quickly procure and access the service whenever they want, wherever they want. This should be a key component when we are defining or trying to figure out whether it is a cloud service or not. It would also show that if this is a cloud technology, when it reduces the administrative burden on the company itself. Or some of you might know the word bureaucracy. If this is an example of cloud technology in government, we can say the bureaucracy in it become lesser and lesser. If some of you may have realized in government, especially if I give some example in Indonesia, before the implementation of information technology, we do things manually. We copy the documents, we print the documents uh, piece by piece, paper by paper, and it becomes so administrative, too many bureaucracy that made us wonder, could this thing get any simpler than this? And uh, when the IT comes, especially when we are going to focus on cloud technology, this becomes a solution where the cloud technology could reduce this kind of burden. Nowadays, in Indonesia, we use less paper. We can use QR code even to pay things just by using QR codes, and there's a lot more things that we can do right now compared when the IT the information technology is not used back in the day. We also know that on-demand self-service is generally implemented using some kind of portal that we call a user portal, and it will have something like a front end that for us as a customer or as user use, but also it has some kind of back end for the company itself to use to do administration based on the technology itself, where this still in the cloud technology environment. And this is what we call uh, environment of technology using application programming interface, or for short term it's called API. This is the common use of technology, but we are not going to focus on that because uh, we are not in the field study of IT. So as long as we remember the terms of the technology, I think we will be fine. Unless if you're going through the field of study in IT, I think we will need to learn better. But I think we don't need to learn this in this course. Okay, next. After the on-demand self-service, we have, oops, huge use or broad network access. This is the key component that also introduced the cloud technology because we need an access to the internet. Not only the access, but a broad access. We need a high speed and accurate internet access as well because it could be sensed as a weakness of the cloud technology because uh, it has to be continuously served to the user. Because if I give you an example in terms of cloud technologies uses in financial or in bank, if we are trying to access the finance system using cloud technology, if that is not continuous, we are going to get into some trouble. We could lose or potentially risk our money that we save in the bank. Imagine that when you're trying to access to transfer your money to your friends, to your families, or your business partner, and the access is not continuously, or we have some internet connection problem, we could send the money twice without we even know, and that could become a serious problem. So that's why in order to utilize the cloud technology, the characteristic or the component, the second component which is also important is the broad network access. Hopefully we are having this kind of infrastructure in bit by bit, but in order to perform the best use of the cloud technology, this is what we need. So what we need is not a basic network, but a cloud technology with broad network access that should be easily accessed, not only using PC, but all kind of platform that I mentioned before in the first meeting. This also means that the server should be able to be accessed by wide and variety of technology. So not just one operating system, but also kind of different system, or what we called earlier multi-platform system. So we need to have that accessible not only in Android but also in iOS and also in Microsoft or even Linux if you prefer to use Linux. The next one is also one of the things that we highly require because this could potentially and strategically perform for the cloud technology, which is the location. We need to have a good location for our cloud technology, something like a server. Usually, we in Indonesia, we have a server location for our cloud technology somewhere strategic. What I mean with something strategic is one, the location where they're not common uh, something like earthquake or something else that could potentially harm the server because uh, you may not know if in Indonesia we have quite a lot of active volcano, and I say this could potentially weaken our cloud technology when earthquake comes, tsunami comes. uh, our cloud technology won't be able to be used. That's why uh, some of our strategic use of cloud technology, the implementation of server, we do it somewhere else, such as in what we usually use in Singapore. That's why most of our cloud technology server are located in Singapore because it's quite safe. We have a lot of standard in server infrastructure, and it's basically the terminal in Southeast Asia. we also know that this location should become a resource pooling. What we mean is resource pooling is the fact that clients will not have to need the resources only in one place. So instead of only using one place, even though that we use Singapore, we have quite a lot of location that should available to use the data stored in the server and in the cloud technology itself. So it should be available to all the user. So when these resources are not being used by the customer, we will have some kind of algorithm to turn it off. Or instead of sitting idle, we can use it for another customer. That's what the characteristic of cloud technology is. Next one is the rapid elasticity. The characteristic of a cloud environment to easily grow and satisfy the user, because we are talking about service, so it should satisfy the user. We try to do online transaction in 1 second, and when the user uses it and they see how fast we can deliver our service using cloud technology, they said they become satisfied. And that's what the key points of cloud technology. It satisfies the user. And also, we need to make sure that our cloud technology should be deployed in needed infrastructure, in a place where we can expand the service, because a lot of cloud technology start from a scratch. Even from a scratch, it costs a fortune. And we need to make sure, we need to strategically place our service where it is expandable. Because who may know that some days we become viral and we need a lot of other server to support our cloud technology. And this what we meant by rapid elasticity. It's not only preparation that require months or year, but as fast as possible, because we don't know in information technology, our server could potentially become bigger only by minutes. We I think we all know that the power of the internet. In 1 second, we can become a good service, and people use it. And that's why we have to be ready. We also need to know that in order to implement this characteristic, we need to accomplish the use of automation, just like a robot, and it should be well planned, well managed in kind of orchestra in the use of algorithm. That's why in computer science we have algorithm to make sure everything do as told. So it's not like a human thing, but it is like a robot thing where when we told them to do A, they will do A. Unlike human, when we try to tell them A, they might jump to B. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it is not good. This is why um, automation could be able to handle the burst capacity in the meantime when we are preparing our service into bigger service when we go viral. The last one is the measured service. And I think some of you may have heard about the pay per use, especially maybe someone who likes wrestling, WWE. They sometimes have the pay per use, pay per view, and something like that. So we have what we call measured service with pay per use, which is a service that has the ability to measure the usage. For example, basic example, when we are using our mobile internet connection, it should able to measure how much we use and how much we have to pay. And this is a must. because this is where we get our money when we are implementing cloud technology as a business. We need to quantify various metrics, algorithm, and a technique of measurement. In computer science or in IT, we we are able to measure even the emotion of the people by just reading itself. We could also measure by the bandwidth used or the data used in that service. And also as a user, you need to understand that the cloud technology is exactly a service that used and measured as what the user do. So that's what the characteristic of the cloud technology. So based on the NSIT, this should be the characteristic to be used when we are going to identify the cloud technology. Now we know how to identify it. We can go to how we deploy the cloud. So we have cloud deployment models. We have a lot of cloud deployment models. And for example, we have these four main key: hybrid, public, private, and community. So hybrid is a combination of cloud of deployment models that IT or computer science enthusiasts made to build their their cloud technology. So sometimes it's hybrid, and we also have models that use publicly in a lot of domain in society use, but we also have something like a private use. This is usually used by the private company, a big company that required everything of everything confidential, and also the data should be secure for no one else to see except the company itself. We also have cloud deployment models that focus on the community, where it should able to maintain the technology to improve the community itself, especially in organization or someone with similar interests. So cloud deployment models also varies from organization to organization. We still cannot make a standard in how a deployment made. We usually use creativity and innovation to deploy this model. So that's why it is hard to give this thing a standard. That's why when it comes to deployment, we need to understand its own requirement. For example, if you're going with the F&B, food and beverage, to use this cloud of technology, you need to know the requirements which is needed in that kind of sector. We have to do some planning and strategic thinking to understand the requirement of the service needed in F&B or the food and beverages. How much the access for that cloud technology, how much control that we have through that F&B environment. And it's not only using the standard from NIST, but we could also potentially be bigger. And remember the outline of deploy, the sample deployment models, which is public, private, community, and hybrid. That could be the basic fundamental step to deploy our models, but it's not restricts into the that four. But for start, we can try to build our cloud technology start from those four components. Let me give you an example of the component definition. The first one is a public cloud. This public cloud is a cloud computing that most of people think all the system, all the resources provided by the service is used or housed by external service provider. So we can make sure that we have a third party as our business party to give the service and all the resources that is needed in that cloud technology. We also know that the service provider or our third party should be responsible for this technology, whether it is for the management of the server, the infrastructure, the administration, etc. It should be able to provide the service without us as the user, not the user of the user, but the user as a company to provide the service. So this is what we need to have. We have to able to choose wisely of our third party business. For example, a simple example if our internet ISP, we have to make sure that we choose the right third party provider for our internet, because honestly in Indonesia our internet is a little bit bad if we do not choose with a good measurement. So this is a simple explanation how we can choose. Next one is the private cloud. In a private cloud, the system and resources that provide the service are located internally. So not only we have to choose our third party to provide the infrastructure, we also need to have our own technology, our own infrastructure where it is located internally in the company. For example, if we have confidential data that nobody should see, even our third party. This is why some of the cases that went viral because some of the company did not have plan for the private cloud. Maybe some of you have heard that there's data breach of a company, a confidential data be sold in we if some of you may know, we have what it called deep web. There is one commonly viral in Indonesia where our national ID sold online because of data breach of the ministry, and it's become a huge problem because even maybe my national ID card can be found online in deep web. They sell it for their personal gain, and I think that's a bad one because we don't know how the data could be breached, but this could potentially be breached if we are not uh, having a private cloud. Even in the private cloud or private data, it could be breached, but the risks are not. It's not uh, bigger than if we're not using private cloud. That's why we need to make sure we have the right technology that only us as the company has, and we are going to become responsible for the management and administration of the system, of the cloud system, and use that to provide our service. We also have the community cloud. Community cloud is a semi-public cloud, so it stands between public and private. So it could be used by the user and also the company separately, and it's usually shared between members of a select group of organization. This will be generally used so us as a user and also the provider could be responsible with what we do. For example, the user wanted to use the service, the cloud service, they pay, and the provider also have the responsibility to give the content, the data that they want in the cloud technology after the user do their responsibility. That's why we have the community cloud. For a simple explanation, which I currently use maybe in Disney Plus, if you remember that's a streaming service to able the user to access the movie that is available in Disney. We usually do subscribing method. We pay for the streaming service, and as a company that provide the service, the Disney Plus give us access in periodic base after we pay, and it becomes a community cloud where we give and we take based on what we need. There's also what we call a hybrid cloud. A hybrid cloud model is combination between two or more of the other cloud models. So not only from what I give you an example before, but could be other or potentially cloud technology that will be made in the future. So the cloud technology is mixed together so they can have more complexity and also uses in the society itself. We also have some example, not by the definition of the component of the cloud, but in terms of the definition of general service model. We have what we call SaaS, IaaS, or PaaS, which stands for software infrastructure platform or platform as a service. We have this as a basic explanation of how cloud service models works, but this is the basic or the fundamental use. In the future, we may have something else, not only a software infrastructure platform, or maybe we can have a nation as a service in the future. This is still a huge thing to be analysis or to be studied, and this could be potentially a huge start of our information technology study. We could also uh, use a lot of understanding in what these cloud service models in order to maybe build another model of cloud technology in the future, because there are a lot of service that can be provided by this cloud technology implementation. According to NIST, we also have the definition of what cloud service model. So for in the outline, we have what we call a basic service models, which is the EIIS, PAAS, and SaaS that is available today, unknowingly by us that we could use this. It has some big advance and also disadvantage for its use. Common disadvantage in the use of this cloud technology is how our data has been shared by the provider itself in order to gain more profits in a bad way. But the big advantage of this technology, by using the data that we share to them as well, we could potentially increase our skills and passion based on what the technology give us. So it's a basic double-edged for sword. So it has its own weakness and also its own advantage. So I think that's still balanced. Well, hopefully we could perform or develop better technology that could potentially give us the better advantage. I heard of some new technologies such as Web 3.0, where we care more about our data that we share to the other, and I think that should be a good thing. Maybe we could discuss about this technology in the future. But let's focus on what we are talking in this meeting. Let's talk about the EIIS, the Infrastructure as a Service. So IaaS provides the basic infrastructure to the customer. This service may include physical machine such as PC, or there could be a special case where we use not only personal computer but a supercomputer which act as a server. Not only a physical one, we could also now make a virtual machine. So we can virtually make our own PC or our own supercomputer based on what the server has. Traditionally, back in the 90s, we can only make one server out of one computer. But today, in one computer, as long as we able to give the, if you know RAM, if you know the storage, the SSD, the hard disk, we can make from one PC, we can make unlimited PC, which we call virtual machine. It's also needed to be known that we need to know about the capability of our network as well, because we can have a lot of unlimited virtual machine, but still the networks should be able to become able to support those virtual machines. We also need to focus on the storage or the combination of this kind of uh, IaaS, because it should be balanced. Not only we have the physical, we not only have the virtual, the networking or the storage, but the combination of this should be balanced, because if we are not making it balanced, that it won't be a good service. IaaS implementation are also used to replace the old school computer, old school servers internally, which this become an advantage to the company. We can make it more flexible and reduce cost. Back in the day, millions of dollar could be spent to make server. Nowadays, by using IaaS, we can just spend maybe $10 a year compared to million of dollars per year. And look where we are here now. Next, we have the platform. The platform provides not only the basic needs, so it's much wider. We can give the service as operating system. We can manage to have what we call OS for ourselves without physically touch it. We have what, for example, if we want to have our own virtual machine with Linux system, we can just pay the provider. We wanted an operating system in Linux. We want to make our own web server if we wanted that. That's why that's where PaaS come. The implementation allow a company, an individual to develop application without having to worry about building the infrastructure, because we do know infrastructure could be hard to maintain and cost too much. It could even potentially explode if you didn't maintain it correctly. That's why there's also a platform that could be provided as a service as an option if we are going with the cloud technology implementation. We also have the software as a service. This is much smaller compared to the before the platform or the operating system. We can uh, get a service. For example, we can get finance software in order to uh, give a service for our employees, and we can also make this only by giving some money, and the provider will give you the application and the data, basically all the necessary platform using the cloud technology. So we can just open our internet. We wanted to use the finance. We want to have our own banking system maybe for our company to deliver or manage our payment. If you are going with the business system, then this kind of service is available for us to use, and it basically uh, not a big cost to do. Better than it's extremely better than trying to build our own infrastructure. So basically, from what a service of cloud could be, we know that cloud computing could possibly give us new opportunities where it uses a new age of um, burn money, or we can centralize this into an IT centralized environment. So end user don't have to be stuck using application that they don't like or fit to their needs. And nowadays we can use something like the cloud drive, where this is a commonly or widely used in SaaS application, where it provides customer relationship management. So we can connect to our customer easily by using this system, whether we are going with a smartphone, PC, or even an other platform that available to the customer. And this could be also be used by our company itself in case of management using IT. We have what we call enterprise resource planning or ERP application. This is a high and advanced IT tool that could potentially develop our company. We also have what we call system drivers. System drivers is what steer the cloud technology, what organize the cloud technology itself, where this could become one of the components that focus on how the cloud technology works. So we need to make sure that in order to successfully implement cloud technology, we need to focus on this principle, which is the agility, the reliability, scalability and elasticity, performance, easy of maintenance, security, and compliance. We will take a look on how the cloud technology implementation principle become a huge opportunity for us to use. The first one, the principle of agility. Agility is something that we should offer as our cloud service, where user can reappropriate resources easily, anytime they want, anywhere they want. That's why when needed, a user could take or add resources into the system, where let's imagine something like this. When we are going to have a PC, basically on what we wanted them to have, we wanted them to have cloud technology, we wanted them to be able to add more storage, basically from the data that our user in this company use. So we start from maybe 100 gigabytes. We need to make sure that cloud technology are able to add resources, able to add more gigabytes into our PC. That's why this agility is important. As fast as we can, as long as the cloud technology that we use uh, are able to do it simultaneously, dynamically when we pay them. For example, we have what we call gateway payments. That could potentially become a big impact to our cloud computing or cloud technology implementation. It simply need to easily and fast add to our cloud technology. This would be a better internal infrastructure resource user can get a healthy internal cloud environment. That's why this should be our first principle, because uh, we do know how a cloud, sorry, the IT service that we use when it went slow, or when we have to get in line, wait for the others to finish in order to uh, do what we wanted in that service. Maybe some of you have uh, realized how when a lot of people are connected to the same service, and we get some load, we call it lag, slow, the service becomes slow. That's the that identify that the cloud system in that technology is not working fine, and that's why people leave. Oh, this is too slow, I'm going to another service. Oh, in Netflix getting slow, too many people in here using the service, but they didn't increase their capacity, I'm going somewhere else. I heard that HBO Max is better. Or oh, I love Marvel, I want to go to Disney Plus. That's why agility is also important. Next thing, the principle of reliability. But it's not only about how we can make something fast, add something fast based on our user needs, but we also need to make sure that we our service are reliable. So not only fast, but having some connection trouble. Sometimes we get so fast, some things we lost our connection and it doesn't perform well. It's the measurement of how a reliable service is not maintainedly in the service. So that's why reliability is important, because in cloud environment, the user doesn't want to use a service that is not stable. If I can give you some example, take a look of a cloud technology server that used in gaming. Some of you may have play some games and uh, see why my ping, my connection is red. why it is so not stable. Sometimes it's normal, sometimes it's spiky, the connection doesn't get good. That's the measurement of reliability. It doesn't work fine. That's why this is important. Nobody wants to play in a lag server. Next one is scalability and elasticity that we discussed earlier. So that's not only a sample of our cloud models, but also a principle of our cloud technology. If we are going to use it, should able to meet the customer demands, the environment needs, and also adapt automatically. It would also save our money if we are going with elasticity. When the server is not using a lot of resources, then we don't have to pay a lot of money for that. And that's why these things is also important. The next one is performance. Performance is also one of the principle in cloud technology implementation, where we need to monitor and measure our performance, which is why the performance that did not meet the expectation of the system should be adjusted automatically, and for example, give more capacity, give more speed, give more storage, and having what we call a service level agreement. Some of you may have heard that we have service level agreement 99.99% uptime for our server. And that is not just 99.99% blah blah blah. It's not just some kind of marketing strategy, but it's also a measurement in year. So if we are saying maybe 99.99% uptime, then we are able to get a downtime of I don't remember correctly, but somewhere about 2 or 3 days a year. So we are able to do some maintenance for it or give some treatment to our system. So that's why by measuring and monitor our performance, it should be a good principle when we are going with our cloud implementation. So SLA, the service level agreement, is a guarantee level of performance. Yeah, it's just one of example. We can also use another kind of measurement if we like, but this is the most common way to ensure our customer that we are having a good and the best quality of cloud computing. We also need to know about the principle of maintenance that I said earlier. Between our 99.99 uptime, we need to have a maintenance. So it is connected to our other principle as well. So we need to do maintenance for our cloud computing needs. The most common needs of our maintenance is when we are trying to back up our data. So that's why we also need to have maintenance. Usually, to do maintenance, it will need to be planned and analyzed first whether our data need to be backed up periodically. Sometimes in some services of cloud technologies, we need a daily backup. Sometimes we need a weekly backup, or sometimes we only need a yearly backup of our data. So that still need to be planned and analyzed of our cloud computing needs. It needs to be uh, planned in detail. So it should be keep in mind. In the case of also the cloud environment, we only need our user to agree that we need the maintenance. This is for the best uh, service. We can also make our service reliable by doing maintenance outside of active hour. So that's why the performance monitoring is a good way to track or measure our maintenance schedule. We can monitor, oh, we know our user is only active at 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. So we can do at 11 to 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. to do our maintenance. And basically, that's how we need a planned and analyze and structured maintenance. The last one is the security and compliance, the principle where we need to make sure that our data is secure, our data is good, and what we think of the compliance is needed. So in this field of cloud computing, we need to make sure that the data is secure. Our especially when we are doing cloud computing, we have what we call the get payment gateway, where we usually save our credit card information, our bank account information, even our financial data. That's why when you're ready to do or implement cloud technology, you need to make sure we are having the best third party to make sure our security is good. We don't want to be responsible for any data leaks of our user. It happens and it's a bad way to close your business. If we are not looking at the principle of the security, we may go bankrupt in less than maybe, I don't know, a day or a week mostly. So that's why security would be one of the things that we do, what we call a mitigation, to make sure that data breach, data leak doesn't happen. And I think by doing all of the the other principle that we do, it should be enough in order to start or by using the cloud technology. Now let's move forward to the sample or the original service that we could use in cloud technologies. We have what we call content management system. This is the easiest way to implement cloud technology. It's cheap. We can do it even we are not based on IT, and it's usually be one of the technology that doesn't really a burden for us to do. So what is a content management system, CMS? So content management system is a software that helps the user to create, to manage, and also modify content on a website. So we are going to focus on a website-based system, and it's specialized on a technical knowledge. Some of you may have known one of the famous CMS in the world, uh, something what we call Wordpress. It was one of the technology that uh, known to provide a blog, but nowadays it has become a great system that supports almost all of the field of communication. Now we use WordPress to make our own e-commerce online store. We can now use WordPress to give us uh, service. We can make WordPress to become our information system for our education, or we can simply use it for our personal use. And we will talk about the sample and the use of management system later. We will have a lot to talk about because this content management system is so wide but yet so useful and easy to be used for a starter, because when we are trying to use content management system in cloud technology environment, this could potentially become one of the best uh, system for us to be used. So you can take a look on this reference. You can read it later. This could become one of your material to be used to learn more about the cloud computing, especially when you're going through the use of the CMS. You will need to understand the basic of the cloud computing in theory and also the practice, and we will move on into more focused topics in the third week. We will also discuss later about what the cloud computing, sorry, the CMS capable of, and how we use it strategically in our uh, practice of IT. And I think that's all for our meeting for today. If you have any question, don't hesitate to ask me. You can contact me directly from my email, or you can find me in my social media as well. Thank you for your time and have a nice day. Bye bye.